there is significant funding by groups and organizations to push that, including Sharia, into the United States?
Oh, there's no doubt whatsoever. Prince Al-Walid bin Talal from Saudi Arabia, who has spent millions and millions of dollars in funding universities.
The goal is for the Western Hemisphere, for the Western civilization, the United States, and Texas as ground zero, to become Islamic.
They're working toward eliminating and destroying Western civilization from within, and all the non-Muslim apologists for Sharia that we see are indications of how successful that effort has been. This is all about political power. Nihad Awad, in repeated statements speaking about increasing the number of Muslim congressmen, getting Muslim senators, and increasing Muslim political power on that basis.
An explosive congressional hearing recently unmasked a ruthlessly orchestrated foreign-funded conspiracy seeking to entirely dismantle the United States Constitution and impose Sharia law. Let us instantly examine this profoundly terrifying testimony.
Ms. Shield, let me ask you a quick question, and just try to go through these pretty quickly, right? Just a few things with respect to Texas, my friend Mr. Gill was just talking about. Is it true that north of Austin, including there's a big center in West Campus, the University of Texas, including other places? In other words, it's not just located just Epic City. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I'm also talked to a number of people, particularly in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, women in particular, who will tell me that there are enclaves and areas throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where they do not go, where there are women, Texans, who say that because they are in areas that have a high concentration of Muslim men, and because of the nature of what's going on in those areas, that there are now, quote, no-go zones in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I've heard that from multiple people in multiple places throughout that area, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Spencer, and I'd look to you on this question here. I heard my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who were raising objection to legislation that, and a number of bills that some of us introduced, particularly one that I introduced, that was raising the issue of vetting individuals as we're bringing them into the United States for their adherence to Sharia law. That was the idea. The idea is that Sharia law is inconsistent with our values in Western civilization, so we should know if we're bringing people into the country that may want to advance a system of law or systems that are contrary to our laws. Here's my question. In doing so, my colleagues acknowledged and said that that would mean that Muslims generally would be in fear of deportation or inability to be brought into the country. Does that not suggest that there's a recognition that Sharia law is central to most of the Muslim population throughout the world and those that come to the United States?
It would seem as if they're aware of that, yes.
And is that true? Is
yes.
Sharia law central to most Muslims throughout the world?
Absolutely. Sharia is considered divine law, and thus it takes precedence over all other legal systems. In areas of the Muslim world where it is not fully implemented, such as Egypt or Syria, other countries, it still has a tremendous cultural influence, such that elements of it are often enforced by individuals or groups where the government doesn't do so.
And is it not true also that there are some 50+ countries throughout the world in which Sharia is either entirely the law or central to the law in a mixture of its religious implementation, but also its civil?
Yes, that's right. There are 57 members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, 56 nations, and the Palestinian Authority.
Is it also not true that when we're talking about the advance of the Islam population, or the population of Muslims that adhere to Islam in this country, that it is not also true that there is significant funding by groups and organizations to push that, including Sharia, into the United States?
Oh, there's no doubt whatsoever. You have, for example, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal from Saudi Arabia, who has spent millions and millions of dollars in funding universities such as Georgetown, where they have now the Prince Al-Walid Center for Muslim Christian Understanding that is designed essentially to whitewash Islam, jihad, and Sharia and present a version of these things that are designed to foster complacency. And also have the government of Qatar doing the same thing on an even larger.
In addition to these countries, in addition to foreign funding, there are organizations such as CARE and other organizations that are designed to implement and advance the existence of Sharia and the advance of Islamism in the United States. Is that true?
Oh, certainly. Omar Ahmed, the co-founder of CARE, has been on record saying the Quran should be the only law of the land. He has denied saying this, but the original reporter stuck by her story. Ibrahim Hooper of CARE, the famous spokesman for the organization, said that he wanted to see the government of the United States become Islamic sometime in the future. And this is something that is clear from all of CARE's actions.
And would it be safe to say that the goal of those organizations, and the Muslim Brotherhood, as my friend Mr. Gill said, also from Texas, that the goal of those organizations in advancing Islamist movement in the United States, that the goal is for the Western Hemisphere, for the Western civilization, the United States, and Texas as ground zero, to become Islamic?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That's very clear from the explanatory memorandum of the Muslim Brotherhood, saying that the goal is that Allah's religion is victorious over other religions, and they're working toward eliminating and destroying Western civilization from within. And all the non-Muslim apologists for Sharia that we see are indications of how successful that effort has been.
One last question. I'm over my time, then I'll recognize the gentlelady from Wyoming. Is that not inherently political and not just missional? In other words, not just saying, hey, we would like people to know Allah and to know the teachings of Muhammad and Islam, as much as a Christian might want to advance the mission of Christ, but that it is political in ideology and in effect.
There's no doubt whatsoever. This is all about political power. Nihad Awad, the executive director of CARE, has made that quite clear in repeated statements speaking about increasing the number of Muslim congressmen, getting Muslim senators, and increasing Muslim political power on that basis.
There's a movement afoot across the United States that seeks to overthrow our legal system and the Constitution to replace it with a foreign legal system that upends our American way of life. It seeks to replace these foundational elements of our constitutional order with Islamic law, known as Sharia. The principles of Sharia are at odds with the Constitution and the laws of the United States. As Sharia fails to include due process, treats non-Muslims as second-class citizens, and prescribes barbaric punishments. All the while, polygamy, misguided corporal punishment for perceived violations of Islam, and acts of violence and terrorism on behalf of Sharia are permitted by its adherents. Sharia encourages violence, silences dissent, rejects religious freedom, and subjugates women and children. Let's be clear. This is not about having the freedom of worshiping a religion of one's choosing, such as Islam, but forcing a foreign legal code that is incompatible with our laws and legal system that provides unwanted consequences to the American people. It's everything we've fought against for more than 250 years. Thomas Jefferson recognized this problem at the beginning of the 19th century when he confronted Islamists in the Barbary Wars to keep trade lanes open and end Islamic religious slavery. When envoys and future presidents, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, inquired by what right the Islamic Barbary states preyed upon American shipping, enslaving both crews and passengers, America's two foremost envoys were told by Tripoli's ambassador, quote, "It was written in the Quran that all nations who should, quote, not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon whoever they could find, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise," end quote.
The testimony revealed that this is not a drill. Radical Islamic law is actively establishing roots right here in America, with Texas serving as ground zero. Witnesses dropped a massive bombshell regarding secret enclaves in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. There are enclaves and areas throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where women Texans say that because of a high concentration of Muslim men and the nature of what's going on, there are now no-go zones in Texas. When confronted with legislation to vet immigrants for their adherence to Sharia before letting them enter, radical leftists threw a tantrum. But experts testified that Sharia is viewed by radicals as a divine law that takes absolute precedence over the U.S. Constitution, stripping away due process, treating non-believers as second-class citizens, and open to barbaric punishments. If you are sick and tired of the radical left acting as non-Muslim apologist for a foreign legal code that completely subjugates women and children, smash that subscribe button right now. We are exposing the deep state swamp and institutional corruption every single day, and your support keeps this channel on the front lines. The hearing exposed the massive pipeline of foreign cash designed to foster complacency in the West. Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal has pumped millions of dollars into elite institutions like Georgetown University to fund centers explicitly designed to whitewash jihad and Sharia. Even worse, groups like CARE are working from within. The hearing brought the receipts, quoting CAIR's co-founder stating the Quran should be the only law of the land, and its executive director openly plotting to leverage political power to overthrow our legal system. This is a calculated political ideology aiming for complete dominance. Witnesses noted that the Muslim Brotherhood's own internal documents state their goal is destroying Western civilization from within. From a blocked 402-acre Islamic enclave in Plano, Texas, to shadow tribunals operating illegal courts, the threat is right on our doorstep. Our founders, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, fought the Barbary Wars over 200 years ago against the exact same radical mindset. Today, unchecked immigration has led to 4.6 million green cards issued to nationals from Muslim-majority nations since 9/11, with recent polls showing 39% of U.S. Muslims support a broad application of Sharia in America. We are facing a historic turning point. If we look at Europe, where the UK now has over 85 active Sharia courts operating as a parallel government, we see exactly what happens if we refuse to close the door on this extremism. It is time to take decisive action, stand firmly behind our Constitution, and put America first before our legal system is completely erased. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, smash that like button, and share this video with every patriot you know. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.